Hey everybody, it's Dave with davidspassage.com, and I'm coming to you with a pretty unique video. I've never done a video like this because I'm here with a guy by the name of Strider, and that's his trail name because he is hiking the North Country Trail. Strider, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Or
Yes, I just graduated college in December. This is kind of my big adventure before I start my career. I'm from Minnesota originally, so the trail actually passes through my home state. That's part of what drew me to it. But yeah, North Country Trail, 4,600 miles from the Tallgrass Prairie in North Dakota to Lake Champlain and the New York-Vermont state line. I'm a little bit over halfway through. I'm at about almost 2,500 miles now, so I still got a ways to go. I'll be crossing into Ohio tomorrow, and it's been a great trip so far, despite the many hardships, including 6 weeks of snow. Just start off, I was on snowshoes for the first 6 weeks, and then apparently record-setting mosquitoes in the UP. That was the biggest challenge by far, was getting through that with a positive mindset.
Sure.
But yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit and answer some questions that I put on my Facebook feed. If you want to go to facebook.com/davidspassage, you can find out some of those. We're going to ask him some of those questions that you asked. We're also going to go through his packing a little bit too, so that'll be kind of cool. But how did you first learn about the North Country Trail?
Actually, it was I have a cabin on the North Shore of Lake Superior, Minnesota, that actually the Superior hiking trail crosses just down the road. And then actually that is, it's not official yet, but that will be part of the North Country Trail as soon as Congress approves the Arrowhead Reroute bill. So I was actually, in college, I was volunteering to build new trail between Duluth and Two Harbors, because that was the gap that they were trying to fill in. And that's where I heard about it. Another volunteer told me about, yeah, the North Country Trail, it includes this trail and it goes from North Dakota to Vermont, so I was just intrigued. And so I got home and did a little research, and then that kind of got the spark going. And then here I am 3 years later, hiking it instead of the AT or some other trail.
Yeah, and what made you want to do this one over like the AT or the Pacific Crest Trail or any of those other ones?
A lot of it because it was so unique. It's really diverse. You start in the Tallgrass Prairie, North Dakota, and then you transverse into kind of the Prairie Pothole region, then into the North Woods, and then now lower Michigan, Ohio, you're in really kind of urban and rural environments and kind of farm country. And then on the eastern end, you get into pretty big, 5,000 foot mountains. So it's pretty diverse compared to a trail like the AT, where you're in mountains the whole time. It doesn't really change a whole lot.
Plus, it's about what, twice as long?
Yeah, twice as long. Yep.
Yeah.
And the fact that only 3 people have thru-hiked it, I'll be the 4th one if I succeed.
Wow.
So that kind of drew me to it too, is that it's so little known. And actually, that's one of a goal of mine from doing this hike, is to increase awareness of the trail, and get more people out hiking it, because I feel like that'd be the best way to protect it for the future.
Now, if you're not familiar with the North Country Trail, look them up on the web. They've got a great Facebook feed that's updated regularly with all their stuff, and a lot of really great resources on their website, including trail maps. You can go through even Google Maps. They have it all outlined from North Dakota all the way up to Vermont. So if you've seen some of my other videos, I've hiked the section that Strider's going to do today through the Lost Nation State Game Area. I've also done the section through Allegheny National Forest. We're going to be doing that again in August. You can look for a video on that. But you've got you've done 20, how many miles?
About 2,500 miles.
2,500 miles, which is about as long as the AT, right? That's longer.
Actually, yeah, the PCT is 2,600, so I'll be reaching that in a couple days.
Wow.
That distance.
So twice as long as any of those. So if you're a hardcore hiker, get some tips from this guy. Well, Strider, I had some questions that I put on Facebook, and just thought I'd like to get your take on some of these. And we love outdoors long. Was there one experience along the way where you may have felt the presence of God that was overwhelming?
I haven't had an experience like that yet, but I still got a long way to go, so I'm sure it'll happen or something.
Okay. Tim Woodard asked, what type of shoes are you wearing?
I actually wear these. These are Vask Mantras. Originally I wore Clarions, which are actually more of a mountaineering boot, but then last August I did a kind of a training trip on Isle Royale, and I found out that those are way too heavy. So I ended up, because those are like a high ankle, they come up to about here. And then so I went with these. They're about half the weight, and they still have some ankle support. So I had rolled my ankle a couple times, but it didn't turn into a sprain, probably because of the shoes. They're high enough to protect my ankles.
So what did you say those were again?
They're Mantras. That's the model.
Mantras.
Yeah, Vast, which is actually a Minnesota company.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Keeping it local.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see this. Jeremy Hill writes, what personal goals did you set out with, and how have those changed or grown here at the halfway point?
First goal was just to finish, and not have to bail out at some point. Goal number 2 was to make it as much of a positive experience as possible. Try and block out some of the negative thoughts and feelings I might have, and move past those to get to the positive stuff. And then 3 was to, of course, increase awareness of the trail and get more people interested and out involved and out hiking the trail.
Awesome. All right, and let's see. Let's pick another one here. Jeremy Wright wants to know if your boat is named Jenny.
I don't have a boat, and I'm not Forrest Gump.
Okay. That was funny. Okay, so let's see. Let's pick another one here. What do you do to stay focused while you're hiking all day for weeks at a time?
Actually, I really don't stay focused all the time. I kind of let my mind drift. It's a really, hiking, especially this trail, is a trail of solitude. It's not like the AT that's basically a traveling carnival. You see people every day on the AT. Me, I've gone as much as 7 days without seeing another person. Because part of it is pretty remote. Like the AT, for the most part, I haven't hiked it, but from what I understand, is every 3 or 4 days, depending on the sector, you go through a town. For the North Dakota Trail, there are parts where there's 10 days with no town. So it's been a trail of solitude. That's had its ups and its downs. But so definitely, if you're a hiker looking for solitude, this is definitely the trail to do. But as far as staying focused goes, I just kind of let my mind drift. It's a great opportunity, being by yourself, to kind of be alone with your own thoughts and kind of figure out for yourself what's important in life, what your goals are, many years down the road. So I just kind of, whatever kind of comes in my head, I just kind of expand on it. And actually, one of the things that keeps me focused in the most is I actually, from doing the trail, I am thinking about it through a thru-hiker's eyes. And so I come up with a lot of ideas on how to improve it for thru-hikers and how to attract more hikers. And actually, I shared a bunch of those with headquarters, and I was there last week. And I'm hoping that some of those ideas I can actually make a reality, and hopefully that'll attract more hikers in. So I'm always thinking about ways, like, oh yeah, it'd be cool if they did this or if they added this. And so that's been occupying most of my time on the trail as far as thinking.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the fact that you are, what, the fourth person to do this, is, and I think the other three, it hasn't been a while, or it's been a while since
4 years, yep.
Yeah. So you're going to have a lot of interesting perspectives, especially now, and it's all fresh,
exactly.
that they can take away with. That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, I asked Strider if he would be willing to go through his pack with us, because I know we all love to look at each other's stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Just to see what they're using, especially if you're walking 4,500 miles. It's good to stay ultralight and where you can. So we're going to take a few minutes now and go through this pack. So here, stick around. Oh, so let's get down to business here. What do you got in your pack?
Well, first of all, this pack is the GoLite Torrento 90. It's actually bigger than I need, 90 liters. But at the time, I was doing some work in the Rocky Mountains. I needed a big pack, so I had to carry gear up in the mountains, like 4 or 5 miles up. So I just this is the pack I had. I kind of stuck with it. You really don't need one this big. I'd recommend a 75. That's a pretty good size.
75 liter?
Yeah, this is a 90. It's too big, really. Okay, yeah. But actually, I don't think they make this model anymore. But GoLite's a good brand. I think that's the company Andy Skirko works for, who is the second thru-hiker, by the way. Little trivia. And then basically, I got my 10 poles on the outside. That's the best place they fit. I got the Camelback hose, 2 liters of water inside there. I keep all my toiletries, toothpaste, anything that can kind of leak, bug sprays in here, in a waterproof ditty sack. I got my rain jacket from REI. And then these are my bug clothes. It's basically just a quick dry long sleeve shirt, and these are the legs for my pants. And this is my...
Oh, so you're doing the whole zipper pant thing. Yeah,
this is my Katahdin water filter. It's the Hiker Pro. This is the basic one everybody was carrying about 10 years ago. And then my tent, this is the rain fly for it. I got the REI Quarter Dome T1, which is a solo tent. It's really lightweight. It weighs less than 2 pounds, poles included. This is it. This is basically what it is. It's kind of like a big coffin. It's pretty small. But
you don't have that in a sack or anything?
Nope, I just carry it like this. Well, I mean, everything is garbage bagged for waterproof. Okay. So yeah, this is basically how big it is. So I got enough room I can put my pack in there if I want to, but then it's pretty crammed. But yeah, it's pretty cozy, and there is enough room where I can actually sit up in it, and then it tapers down to my feet.
Nice.
So it's as space saving as possible, but it still has like comfort.
Sit up and have some breathing.
Exactly.
Room.
Yep.
How's the ventilation on that?
It's pretty good actually. The entire top part is screened. With the rain fly in, it tends to keep moisture in, unfortunately. But so that's kind of the drawback of it. But and this is the footprint for it. And then sleeping bag. This is actually a pretty unpopular brand, or it's not well known. This is Lafuma, I think is how you pronounce it.
Oh yeah, I got one of those.
Yeah, and this is a medium one, which is actually a little small, but it's just 30-degree bag. I've had this for a couple years, and I like it. And it's still, I haven't destroyed it yet, so it's made it through this whole trip.
Is that a down bag?
Yes.
How do you keep it dry?
I keep it at the bottom of my pack in a garbage bag, and I'm really careful about where I set it down, and if it does get wet, I make sure that I air it out whenever I can. So when I stop in the middle of the day, I'll take it out and put it in the sun for a while, and then it's right now it's a little damp because a couple days ago it got wet when I was forced to stealth camp in this thunderstorm.
That's why one of the reasons I've really been leery of going down is because of that.
Yeah.
I sweat at night and I'm like, oh no, then I'm screwed.
Yep. Exactly. And then this is kind of the last thing I suppose is I keep all my food in a waterproof dry sack. And this actually also minimizes the odor too, so bears are less of a problem.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. And then I'll show you my stove, which is right on top of here.
Hey, and if they want to follow your stuff, you have a website.
Yes, my website is stridernct.com. That'll bring it right to my homepage. I have a little kind of spiel about the trail, a little bit about me, about how I got started. And then also on there you'll have a link for journals and photos. The journals I'm a little bit behind on because I got delayed by heat. Originally it was snow, so I'm a little bit behind on journals. I'm hoping to get caught up in the near future. But yeah, this is my what?
This is your cook set?
Yeah, this is my my pot. It's Stoic titanium, and then basically all my stuff I need to cook it fits inside here. I use the liquid heat for fuel I keep in Nalgene bottles. You can buy it at any gas station, so it's probably the most reliable fuel source you can find.
You store it in a regular squeeze bottle or anything?
Yeah, it's just the you can get them at REI. There's the hard Nalgene bottles. This is a 4 ounce.
Okay.
And then I got a windscreen made of titanium from a guy online. I forget his channel, but he actually specially makes them, so you can give him specifications and he'll make it for you.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I got it from basically a guy on YouTube made it for me.
Nice.
And then my stove is just a cat food can that I've punched holes in, and it hasn't failed yet. It's still, I've used it basically every day, and it's the best way to go. It's basically weightless, and it's basically indestructible. You could crush it and unfold it again, it still works supposedly. And then you can also burn any kind of fuel in here. You could use, like what I use, the heat, or you could use alcohol or wood if you wanted to. You could start a little wood fire in here and cook.
Have you ever used wood in it?
I haven't, no. This is a lot faster. It lights right away. If you take a circuit lighter and go even close to it, it'll ignite instantly. Right. So that's
Now have you have you used wood fire to boil before then with that? Or?
I have a couple times when I was in like campgrounds, but otherwise I'm usually too tired at the end of the day to even have a fire.
Do you ever use like the canister stoves at all?
No, I never really got into that. And with a trip like this,
like the Whisper light,
it's not really practical because you have to go to outfitters to get those, and there aren't a whole lot along the trail. Especially for the fuel canisters, you can't ship them because they're flammable, so it's illegal to do that.
So that's a good bit of information.
Yeah, so like this, by using this fuel, almost every single gas station has it. I've only had an experience once where they didn't have it in the gas station, so it's pretty reliable as a fuel source.
Awesome.
To use the heat. And that sleeping pad is just a chunk of foam. I had a thermarest originally, but in North Dakota on one of the style crossings, I got a hole in it because of barbed wire. And then I found the hole, and then in the Brownie waters, though, it got torn open even further, then it was useless. So then I had to change to a foam pad, which is actually surprisingly comfortable. And then that is basically it for my basic gear, but I got a couple kind of survival stuff. Let's see. I'll show you this. This is it's the same idea as a spot device. It's the DeLorme version, the same ones that makes the road atlases.
Oh yeah, the GPS.
Yeah, it's the DeLorme InReach device, and it's the same concept as a spot device. At the end of the day, you can use it to check in, which is how I use it. So every day I hit a button, and it sends a text message and an email to my parents back home.
Nice.
And then in the email, a map will pop up, and it'll show right where I am. So if I don't check in, the next couple of days, they have my exact last known location. So it makes it easy for the authorities to find me. And there's a panic button, so if I do get into trouble, the search and rescue, it tracks me every 2 minutes and sends out a new message. So that if I'm moving, they can still find me, they can track me.
Now, do you have to pay for a service for that or something?
Yeah, it's a year subscription. You can renew it or cancel it at any time. And actually, this one is more reliable than the Spot because I think it runs off of the military satellites.
Oh,
so
really?
like the Spot device, I've heard bad reviews, it only works like half the time. I've only had one time where this didn't go through. That was in really stormy weather. There was a thunderstorm, so that kind of messed up the interference. But
Nice.
yeah, it's
Is it waterproof?
to a certain degree.
Okay.
I keep it in a bag just to be safe. But yeah, so that's kind of my main piece of survival gear. Anybody doing a long trip solo should have one. It's not as big of a deal if you're with somebody, but for me, being by myself, especially because it's my first thru-hiking experience, so and it keeps the family at ease too, so they're not calling you constantly. And so that's basically it.
No knives or multi-tools or anything like that, huh?
No, all I got is a pocket knife, a little Swiss Army knife that has like the the bottle opener and the basic knife and the corkscrew.
Sure.
And then what I got for bears is just a whistle, because bear spray is too heavy, and this you're not supposed to blow within a couple hundred feet of a house because it's so loud.
Really?
Yeah, this is from REI too. I haven't had to use it yet, but so I hope it works. But
Cool.
yeah, and that's what I've been doing the past 4 months. That's been kind of my life.
Okay, so after this,
Mm-hmm.
where do you go?
I go home and start the job hunt.
After this, you go home and start the job hunt.
Yep.
Cool. Now, one thing I noticed right away
Mhm.
is that nothing is in a sack.
Yep.
Everything's loose.
Yep.
Is there a reason for that?
It's easier to pack that way.
Easier to pack that way? Just shove it all in?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually, I put my food in first because that's the heaviest thing.
Yeah.
And so I put everything else like around it, and then that way the weight's evenly distributed. But
Okay.
I found out I used to use a bear canister, and then the biggest problem with that is it would always shift. So my back hurt so bad because the weight kept changing direction.
Yeah.
And then so, but by doing this, I put that in first and put everything else around it. That keeps that secure, and the weight's pretty much evenly distributed, so I don't have any back problems.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Now,
just what I found.
Is that an internal frame pack so that
Yep.
stays in it?
Yep, just internal frame. You just basically here, and then down to the bottom, and then everything is attached to that. So it's an the basic internal frame pack. And actually, I do have a spare set of clothes I just sleep in, and those are sacked just in case.
Okay, yeah.
Because then you always want, especially it's not a big a deal now when it's hot, but when it's cold, you want dry stuff to sleep in.
Yeah.
That makes all the difference.
Yeah, I know that's something that's something I just learned.
Yep.
Because all of my stuff is, I'm a little OCD. Everything's in a little,
Yeah.
like all my hygiene stuff's in a ditty bag, my clothes are in another bag, my tarp's in another
Yeah.
thing, my hammock and all that stuff. But to just
Yep.
shove it all in there, you say it makes the weight better.
Yeah, that's what I found. It might be different for different packs, different
That's great.
people. But yeah, for this specific case, I found that's the best way to do it. Yeah, so basically I just put this in first. Everything goes inside the garbage bag, so it is waterproof.
And the garbage bags are cheap if
Yep.
it breaks.
Exactly, yeah. And this goes in next, and this goes on the bottom because this kind of locks it in because it's thick. And so I put that down there on the bottom. Okay. Next, I normally do the sleeping bag, and I kind of wrap this around the food bag. Which you don't want to do if you don't have an odor-proof bag like I do. Then your sleeping bag will smell like food.
Oh yeah,
But
that wouldn't be good.
no, but I haven't had a problem yet. So my bag's not leaking as far as I know. So. Okay. And I do like the footprint for my tent. Kind of goes in there. And then my extra pair of pants, just a pair of wind pants. So I kind of stick those in. Because when you go in public, you don't want to wear all your dirty, sweaty clothes again. So it's always good to have a spare pair,
Yep.
especially if they get wet. And then I'll do the tent. We'll go in. And then a lot of hikers I know don't do this, but I do recommend it, is bring a spare pair of shoes if you can afford the weight. Because again, if your shoes are soaking wet and you have to go into town to do something, it's unpleasant to have wet feet all the time. So this is kind of what I use for, if I'm just in camp, I'll just put the sneakers on. And these are light too. And actually, some people like Nimble Nomad, when he was the last person to hike the trail, he would put on his tennis shoes at extreme crossings. So he'd get these wet and had just the boots for on the dry parts.
Sure.
So at every stream crossing, he would change shoes and then walk across and change back. which I thought was interesting. I haven't done that, but that's kind of one way to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's everything that has to be kept dry. So I just kind of seal the bag up, and then put the rain fly on top of that. And again, this is just how I do it. I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. There's many ways. This is what works for me.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of, you kind of find what's comfortable for you and
Yep.
you stick with it.
Exactly.
But you know, I find that like when I talk to people, you know, you learn something and then you think you've got it down.
Yeah.
And then you see somebody do something else and you're like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And then
Exactly.
then it all of a sudden it changes the way you pack or what you pack.
Exactly.
You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but I've been doing it this way pretty much ever since I started, and it's worked pretty well.
What do you do about blisters and that sort of thing? I didn't see that first aid kit or anything there.
Oh, that's in the, yeah, I should have.
Oh, you got a first aid kit in there too?
Yep.
Oh, there you go.
Yep, first aid kit with blister kit right on the side. I use just moleskin. Actually, I haven't had a problem. The only time I really had blisters was the very first, about the first 10 days of my trip, because my feet weren't used to, doing 25 miles a day, especially in North Dakota. That first chunk is mainly on gravel roads. So it's like, hard pounding on the feet. So after the first 10 days though, my feet healed up pretty well. And I didn't have a problem until I got my second pair of shoes again. So
you broke those in.
Yep. So there's always a breaking period, but after that I haven't had a problem with blisters unless I get like a rock or something in my shoe. Yeah, there's one stretch in when I was going into Ely, Minnesota, where it was all road walk, and I got some pebbles in my shoe, but I couldn't stop because I was along like a busy highway, so there was no room to like stop. So then I had a blister at the end of that day because of the rubbing of the sand and stuff. But other than that, the only time I got blisters were like right away with breaking in the shoes. So it's yeah, that's basically.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
25 miles a day with that on your back, huh?
Yeah.
How much did you weigh in it?
When I left, it was about 35 pounds, and that's full water, full food. So I carry 4 liters of water roughly at a time, and 7 days worth of food, which comes out to about 15 pounds. So the vast majority of my weight is food and water, which is the stuff you need. Because all my gear is ultralight, so it doesn't really take up a whole lot. So, and I probably could get by with less water, but I feel uncomfortable doing that. Especially on days I take when it's really hot. But yeah.
You just use Powerade bottles for your quick draw water?
Yeah, and actually I do try to use Gatorade too. So I drink some of that.
Have you had any strange run-ins with people? Because a lot of the North Country Trail is, road connectors and things like in our town, it just is a bike trail that goes through our town here.
Yep.
You got any strange run-ins with people along the trail so far?
There's only been, I think, once or twice when I've had like uncomfortable situations. Most of the people have been really nice, and I've had a lot of trail angels that brought me to their homes and stuff. There's only one time a couple days ago, there were a couple drunk guys in their front yard that told me to come over, and I'm like, okay, because I didn't want to make them angry. So I went over there and talked to them for like 5 minutes, then I left as quickly as I could. And then 2 nights ago, I got housed up by the cops because somebody filed a suspicious person report, and they told me to leave town, basically, during a thunderstorm, which I was very unhappy about. But other than that, everybody's been really nice and really willing to go out of their way to help me, which has been I'm really grateful for that.
Cool. Well, thank you very much
thank you.
for showing us your pack and telling us about your story a little bit.
Totally.
Again, if you want to find out more about what Strider is up to, you can go to stridernct.com.
Yep.
And catch up with him on there. If you follow the North Country Trail Facebook feed, they've been doing updates a lot too.
Yeah, about once a week.
Awesome. Yep. And so you can catch up with him there, and so we'll probably be checking on with him. When do you want to be done?
I'm shooting for before October 15th.
Before October 15th. So hopefully by then we'll get some more updates on the website and that sort of thing. So thanks again, Strider, for doing this, and just appreciate all your views and comments. Man, if you want to ask him a question, can go to give a guest book on your website?
Yeah, I have a guest book, and I also on that same page on top it has my email address. So
okay.
They can send me a personal message.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Strider.
Thank you.
And we'll get you back on the trail.
Alrighty.
Thanks again for watching, guys, and we'll see you outside.